Key 1 focuses on how shadowing improves fluency by training your brain to listen and speak at the same time, creating a powerful and natural flow of language. When you shadow a speaker, you are not only repeating words, but also absorbing the rhythm, speed, and structure of English in real time. This simultaneous process forces your mind to work faster, helping you develop automatic responses instead of translating from your native language. Over time, this reduces hesitation and makes your speech smoother because your brain becomes used to handling multiple tasks at once. As a result, you begin to think and speak in English more naturally, without pausing to analyze every sentence. When learners practice shadowing consistently, they notice that the connection between hearing and producing language becomes stronger. This connection is important because fluency depends on how quickly you can convert what you hear or think into spoken words. By shadowing, you train your brain to follow the natural pace of English, which pushes you out of your comfort zone. Even if you cannot copy every word perfectly at the beginning, the constant exposure to native rhythm and pronunciation gradually shapes your speaking patterns. This repeated practice makes your speech flow more effortlessly, helping you sound more confident and native-like. Shadowing also reduces the mental pressure that many learners feel when speaking English. Usually, learners overthink their grammar and vocabulary before forming a sentence. However, while shadowing, you don't have time to think deeply. You simply imitate the speaker. This removes overthinking and allows your brain to function at a more instinctive level. The more you practice, the less you rely on translation, and the more natural your English becomes. This instinctive response is one of the key elements of true fluency, and shadowing builds it by creating a habit of fast and accurate speech production. Another important effect of shadowing is improving your confidence. When you practice speaking, along with a fluent speaker, you begin to trust your voice and your ability to speak clearly. Each session helps you overcome fear, and your confidence grows as you hear your own improvement. The combination of listening, speaking, and mimicking the natural flow of English turns shadowing into one of the most effective ways to develop fluency because it trains your mind and voice at the same time, allowing you to communicate more smoothly and comfortably in real situations. Asterisk key to highlights how imitating native speakers helps you learn natural pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation, which are essential parts of speaking English smoothly and confidently. When you mimic a native speaker's voice during shadowing, you begin to absorb the natural sounds of the language in a way that textbooks cannot teach. You hear how words blend together, how certain syllables are stressed, and how sentences rise and fall in tone. These small details are what make English sound natural, and by copying them repeatedly, you train your mouth and ears to produce and recognize the same patterns. Over time, your pronunciation becomes clearer, and your speech starts to resemble the natural flow of a fluent English speaker. Many learners struggle with pronunciation because they learn English visually, rather than through listening. They see a word and pronounce it according to the rules of their native language. Shadowing solves this problem by shifting the focus from reading to hearing. When you imitate a native speaker, you begin to understand how English speech is formed in real situations, not just how it looks on paper. You start noticing that some sounds are softer, some are sharper, and some are almost silent. Through imitation, your tongue, lips, and voice get used to producing these sounds more accurately, which improves your overall clarity. Rhythm is another important aspect that shadowing helps you master. English has a natural beat, almost like music, where some words are stressed while others are relaxed. This rhythm affects how sentences feel when spoken, and mastering it makes your speech sound more natural. When you imitate a native speaker, you copy this rhythm automatically. You learn when to pause, when to emphasize a word, and how to keep a steady flow without sounding robotic. This creates a sense of smoothness in your speech that learners often struggle to achieve on their own. Intonation, the rise and fall of the voice, also plays a major role in communication. It affects meaning, emotion, and clarity. by imitating native speakers. You learn how intonation changes depending on context. A question has one type of tone, a statement another, and excitement or surprise has a completely different sound. Practicing these variations through shadowing helps you express yourself more naturally and understand others better. The more you imitate, the more your voice adapts to these patterns, making your English sound lively, expressive, and confident. Asterisk Key 3 explains how shadowing strengthens your listening skills, especially when it comes to understanding fast and natural English spoken by native speakers. Many learners struggle to follow conversations because real-life English is much quicker and more connected than the slow, clear examples found in textbooks. Words blend together, sounds change, and sentences flow without long pauses. Shadowing exposes you to this real pace, training your ears to catch the natural rhythm and sound of English. As you repeat the sentences, your brain becomes more familiar with the patterns, making it easier to recognize them later in conversations or videos. When you shadow regularly, you train yourself to process information more quickly. You don't just listen passively. Instead, you engage with the audio actively by repeating it almost at the same moment you hear it. This active listening forces your brain to work harder, increasing its ability to decode sounds instantly. Over time, this leads to better comprehension because you are constantly matching sounds, words, and meaning in real time. This technique naturally improves your ability to understand fast English, even when you are not shadowing, because your mind becomes used to hearing and responding without delay. Shadowing also helps you become more familiar with connected speech, which is one of the biggest challenges for learners in natural conversations. Native speakers often link words together or reduce sounds, making phrases like want to sound more like wanna or going to sound like gonna. Without practice, these reduced forms can be confusing, but when you shadow, you hear them repeatedly and learn how they are formed. By imitating these sounds, you develop a more intuitive understanding of how English is spoken naturally. So you no longer feel lost when listening to native speakers in movies, podcasts, or daily conversations. The technique also improves your ability to follow meaning even when you miss a word. As you listen and repeat, your brain begins to use context, intonation, and structure to predict what comes next. This makes you a more efficient listener, allowing you to grasp the overall message without needing to understand every single word. This skill is extremely valuable in real-life communication, where conversations move quickly and people rarely speak in perfect textbook sentences. The more you shadow, the better your ears become at catching details, recognizing patterns, and understanding spoken English naturally and effortlessly. Key for focuses on how using transcripts or subtitles during shadowing can help you catch difficult words and improve your overall accuracy in both listening and speaking. When learners listen to English audio without support, it is common to miss certain words or phrases, especially when the speaker talks quickly or uses unfamiliar vocabulary. A transcript acts as a guide, allowing you to see the exact words being spoken. This helps you connect the written form with the spoken form, making it easier to understand pronunciation, spelling, and meaning at the same time. When you shadow with a transcript, you reduce confusion because you know exactly what the speaker is saying, which builds confidence and strengthens comprehension. Using subtitles or written text also allows you to identify and correct mistakes in your shadowing. Practice. Sometimes you may think you heard a word correctly, but when you check the transcript, you realize that the speaker used a different word or phrase. This awareness helps you avoid developing incorrect habits. By comparing what you said to what the speaker actually said, you can adjust your pronunciation and intonation more precisely. This creates a cycle of improvement where each shadowing session becomes more accurate than the last, leading to stronger speaking skills and better listening accuracy. Another benefit of using transcripts is that they help you learn new vocabulary effectively. When you see new words written out, you can pause the audio, check the meaning, and understand how the word is used in context. This type of learning is powerful because you learn through real-life examples. Rather than isolated word lists, you also hear the correct pronunciation while practicing it immediately through shadowing. Over time, these repeated encounters with new vocabulary make it easier to remember and use them naturally in your own speech. The combination of reading, listening, and speaking strengthens your memory and helps you recall words more quickly in conversations. Transcripts also make it possible to practice difficult sections repeatedly until you master them. Without text, you might struggle to understand a fast or complex sentence, but with a transcript, you can break it into smaller parts, study the structure, and then practice shadowing it again. This helps you fully understand the meaning, grammar, and pronunciation before moving on. As you continue using transcripts regularly, your ability to recognize spoken words improves, your confidence increases, and your speech becomes clearer and more accurate. Key 5 explains how recording yourself during shadowing allows you to compare your speech with the original and track your progress in a clear and measurable way. Many learners believe they know how they sound, but the reality often becomes clearer only when they listen to a recording of their own voice. When you hear yourself, you can identify mistakes that you may not notice while speaking. This self-awareness is extremely important because it allows you to focus on specific areas that need improvement. Whether it is unclear pronunciation, incorrect stress, or a lack of fluency, recording highlights these weaknesses, giving you a chance to correct them with targeted practice. Listening to your recordings side by side with the original speaker also helps you understand the differences in rhythm, intonation, and pacing. By comparing the two versions, you can observe how the native speaker connects words, where they pause, and how they emphasize certain sounds. These details are sometimes too subtle to catch in real time, but recordings make it easier to hear. The contrast. When you become aware of these differences, you can gradually adjust your own speaking style to match the natural patterns of English. With repeated practice, your speech becomes smoother, more confident, and more fluent because you are actively shaping it based on clear feedback. Recording yourself also provides motivation because it allows you to see your progress over time. In the beginning, you might notice many mistakes or feel that your fluency is not strong. But as you continue practicing shadowing and recording your voice, the improvements become noticeable. You may hear yourself speaking with more clarity, using better intonation, or following the rhythm more naturally. These improvements build confidence and show you that your hard work is paying off. Unlike other learning methods where progress is difficult to measure, recordings give you solid evidence of growth, which makes you more determined to keep practicing. Another valuable aspect of recording is that it helps train your brain to listen more critically. When you know you will be listening to yourself later, you pay closer attention while shadowing. This improves your concentration and encourages you to focus on accuracy. Over time, this habit trains you to be more mindful of how you speak in real conversations as well. You become more aware of how words should sound, how smoothly sentences should flow, and how your voice can express meaning. This combination of self-correction, awareness, and continuous improvement makes recording one of the most powerful tools in developing natural and confident English speaking skills. Key 6 focuses on how regular shadowing builds confidence, reduces hesitation, and makes speaking feel natural by training both your mind and your voice to work together smoothly. Many English learners feel nervous or shy when speaking because they are afraid of making mistakes or forgetting words. This fear often creates hesitation, and hesitation breaks fluency. When you practice shadowing regularly, you learn to speak without stopping to think too much. You repeat sentences immediately after hearing them, which trains your brain to respond quickly and naturally instead of pausing to translate or analyze. This continuous flow creates a habit of smooth speaking, and with time, your confidence grows because speaking becomes familiar rather than frightening. Shadowing also helps you overcome the mental blocks that cause fear. The more you imitate fluent speakers, the more comfortable you become with producing English sounds, rhythms, and patterns. Your tongue and mouth muscles adapt to the language, allowing you to speak more effortlessly. This physical comfort plays a big role in confidence because when speaking feels easy, your mind feels relaxed. Over time, you realize that you no longer worry about how you sound or whether you are pronouncing something correctly because shadowing has trained you to speak in a clear and natural way. This comfort removes the fear that usually slows down learners during conversations. Another way regular shadowing boosts confidence is by creating a sense of progress. Each session, even if it is only a few minutes long, builds your skill bit by bit. At first, you may struggle to keep up with the audio, but with consistent practice, you start noticing that you can follow faster speech, pronounce difficult words more clearly, and use natural intonation. These small improvements give you a feeling of achievement, which increases your self-belief. When you finally use English in real conversations and realize that you can speak more fluently than before, your confidence rises even more. This positive cycle motivates you to continue practicing, which leads to even greater improvement. Shadowing also helps make speaking feel natural because it exposes you to real-life English. Rather than textbook sentences, you learn how people speak in everyday situations, how they express emotions, and how they react spontaneously. This exposure prepares you for real conversations, so you no longer feel lost or confused when someone speaks quickly or casually. The more you shadow, the more your speaking becomes a natural response instead of a stressful task. Through consistent practice, you develop a mindset where English feels comfortable, familiar, and enjoyable. And that feeling becomes your biggest strength. With every shadowing session, you move closer to becoming a confident, fluent, and unstoppable English speaker.